Welcome to the Unchurching Podcast.
There's just so much more.
Welcome back once again. If you were with us last week, we had an amazing conversation with David Trotter from Awaken magazine. Rachelle stepped out for that one and allowed me to do my radio thing, which is really cool, and just do an interview. It was so kind. But this week we welcome her wisdom back. And of all the comments that we get about the podcast, it's always about the bombs that you drop. It's always the things that you say. So screw that theology degree. Screw those 40 years of church. It's always about what you're saying. And I'm okay with that. Truly,
No,
I am.
that's funny, but I don't think that's completely true. I think it takes both of us. But
Yeah,
thank you.
sure. I'm here as a sidekick, like the jester for the king. So something happened over the last couple of weeks. It was really interesting. I never comment on social media. I never really ever do, unless it's encouraging, and that's generally on a friend's post. But there's a post from the Religion podcast. And if you haven't seen the documentary, go ahead and see that. The Religion Business, sorry, I
Yes.
correct that. The Religion Business documentary. And I just made a comment about, I can't even actually remember that's how much it means to me, but about that it's not just the mechanism of money and finances in the church, but it's the entire mechanism of control.
Right.
And man, somebody came back at a comment to me, calling me all kinds of things. And to which I said, you're free to be on your own journey. And I felt very free in that. But as I processed it, because sometimes you can't get these things out of your head. Well, I certainly can't. I really thought, why does somebody respond so aggressively against just a different point of view, just a different seek? And generally, let's just say in this circumstance in particular, why do Christians respond so aggressively to thought that is outside of the line of what they're being taught in church? And I get it. I mean, I used to be like that, so I own that as well. But why? Why was I like that? Why were we like that? And the thing that kept coming to mind is fear, is that it's out of fear. It's out of that sense of fear that comes from various places. And when you break it down, that's really what we want to get into today. When you break it down, it kind of comes from two places. We're going to jump straight into it. But I want to anchor it in this so we understand what we're talking about and then give you some tools to overcome these sort of things. But it's baked into church life. Fear really is baked into theology and church life. And we're going to break that up and see why it's like that and how it's so much better on the awakening side. But it's the glue of keeping people in often is that fear. And it's also the whip of controlling behavior often. And so these are just fascinating things that are just was so extremely apparent to me about that.
Yeah, so I mean, for me personally, I don't know if you label it implicitly fear when you're in the church, because the word fear is actually thrown around so much. So it's really hard to kind of define what that word means, because it almost feels like fear is normal, right? Because they use the word fear of God so much in a lot of like preachers that I listen to. And, I didn't really understand the concept when I was in church, but I know for myself, there were so many things I did fear within the church. One of them probably being the fear of judgment, because I was someone who was very black and white, and I was someone who was a people pleaser. And so if I felt like I wasn't doing things right in people's eyes and in God's eyes, like I was fearful of being judged for that, primarily, I guess, by people, by leaders. And I think when I stepped outside of the church and did finally leave, I think that fear just amplified, because it was like, okay, well, now what? Because now if anything in my life goes wrong, like people are going to openly be judging me on the fact that now I'm out of like God's will and God's family and God's house. And
Now you've left. Now the devil's got you.
yes. Oh, and it was so scary. And I mean, I've had friends say that to me, like in this awakening journey, who are still in the church and Christian, like, we've been through some trials through this awakening journey, which is really what it's at the part of it is to awaken you. But the amount of times it was like, I don't understand. Like people would say, I don't understand why the devil is like attacking you guys. And like, I just break off all the control of the devil on your life. And so this whole fear just keeps getting like reiterated. And so I think for me, inside and outside, it was both really prevalent. But for me now, like 2.5 years down the line, I don't think I have felt fear or thought of fear in a very, very, very long time. And it's kind of cool because I don't know that I would have ever gotten here had I stayed in church or had I not taken the journey to actually work through my fears, overcome those fears, and realize, wait, there is actually no such thing as fear.
Yeah, it's been amazing to see how free you've become in yourself. And for me, like the fear in you wasn't showing up necessarily as like being fearful in terms of expressing fearful of this or fearful of that, but it boxed you in. It boxed you in a lot.
So much.
For me, it kind of amplified a brokenness that was already in me, that defense mechanism that I have, or had rather,
Yes.
that I had to work through, that, you know, punching off the, like a pastor told me once, it's hard to move forward when you're always trying to fight with your back against the ropes.
Yeah.
And that really opened me up to understanding, wow, I have this massive defense mechanism that's baked into me. The reality is that the analogy of fighting off the ropes in Christianity is a weird analogy to use already. Why? What are we fighting for? You know, so, but the point is that it amplified that brokenness in me, and what amplified it was the fear of being left out, the fear of not fitting in. And so when I was challenged on anything, I really wanted to defend my position so that I could feel like I had worth fitting in. And it was based on the fear of not being accepted, you know. And it's amazing how subtle it comes through in church. I mean, some denominations, it's clear. It's like preached from the pulpit, fear, the wrath of God. In sort of gentler denominations like evangelical denominations, it's more like the wrath of God is just respect, and they water it down that way. But I don't know, man. Read the Old Testament. There's a lot about God that we should be really fucking fearful of. You know, like really, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of genocide in there that is the God that's being served.
Yeah, and I couldn't marry the two because when I was in what was the presence of God and I could tangibly feel God's presence that manifested purely as love. And so being taught, and I used to do like precepts. I used to go to Bible studies and study some of the Old Testament, you know, especially, I'll never forget really getting into the book of Joshua and some of the stuff there that goes on and like what God kind of causes in his people. And in the Old Testament, it's hardcore, like it's scary stuff. And so I couldn't marry the feeling I had personally about God being pure love unconditionally, like for me, and then marry like what I would read scripturally in the Old Testament. And I know like people would say, yeah, but we are not under the Old Testament law anymore. You know, Jesus has brought us into... But that makes no sense either.
It's crazy because it's not like Jesus fulfilled the wrath of this God. It's more like Jesus is a complete contrast to what the wrath of that God was. It's like Jesus has a completely different approach to things, to what the Old Testament God had. And just remember that people are like, oh yeah, he fulfilled the wrath of God on the cross. Oh, okay. So what about his whole life? Like he lived by a different example to what we see in the Old Testament, and that's pre his death. So I don't buy it anymore.
No, and even the understanding of like a loving God, again, unconditionally supposed to be, puts the whole sin, all the sins of the whole world on his son, who he's supposed to love. And so that he can get tortured and beaten and dragged up a mountain and then in the most brutal way crucified and killed. And then God turns his back on Jesus just before Jesus died. When Jesus calls out, God turns his back on Jesus and then Jesus dies. Like, how was I ever supposed to have a relationship with the source of all things that created me and that I am supposedly, like, I know I said supposedly, I can't say it the other way. What is it?
Oh my gosh. Supposedly, it's part of the English language.
Okay, from here on
Just
out,
carry on.
Supposedly is fine.
Supposedly,
This God that, like, I am a part of and I am supposed to embody and be in this world. It just, how does that make sense? How
Yeah, it's
does
like
that?
if he did that to his own son,
Yes,
who's to say he's not going to do it to you?
yes.
Yeah.
And that makes me fearful of living in this world under this God and source that created everything. Like
Yeah, and
that's
people are
fear.
like, oh, Jesus died on the cross for that. Yeah, just go listen to the salvation episode and you'll
Yes, true.
understand our understanding on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Yep. So, I mean, we got to kind of look back as to like why. Why is religion like that? Why is there so much emphasis on fear in religion, in Christianity, in a lot of religions, you know? And so the one thing that stood out to me, and I'll speak about this point, is like, you know, when Constantine actually had a very big role in shaping what Christianity is. And so there is the Gnostic view of pre-Christianity, which of pre-Constantine, which I've been looking into, that really emphasizes like inner divinity, and I think is a lot of what Jesus was talking about. To me, I'm finding going back and looking at some of those teachings really interesting in the view of inner divinity, a God who has created us to create like him, alongside him as divine love. But before Constantine, like Christianity was so grassroots. There were so many different teachings and texts that were circulating before Constantine came in. And then in 325, Constantine convened at the Council of Nicaea, and Nicaea, and I didn't know this in detail until I stepped away from church. But they actually got together to unify doctrine across the empire, which was the Roman Empire, and the goal wasn't spiritual. The goal was to unify religion in order to unify Rome. It was used as a tool and a mechanism of control to do this. And so there were certain writings that were included, you know, and these just happened to be those that reinforced hierarchy, obedience, authority. And there were others that were excluded or labeled as heretical. And this is kind of a lot of the texts like I've been reading more of now, but these suggest like direct access to the divine, which would threaten the control of the church. And so once I dove into like understanding this a little bit more, it's a very difficult thing to speak about, especially if people are still in church, because the Bible is held to as like the most divine, sacred word of God. And
Yeah, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Bible.
yes, nothing can be added to it and nothing can be taken away. I've been told that like a million times. But so when you look at like the actual facts
And
of
yet a
how
lot was added to it and a lot was taken away.
I know, because pastors can do that, but we have to stick to like the words of the Bible. So it basically crystallized a version of Christianity where fear became the tool of alignment. So obey the church or risk exclusion, punishment, and damnation. And that
Yeah.
was the true message of where the whole religion of Christianity as well as the Bible originated from. And so with that perspective, a lot makes more sense to me now.
As to why fear was used in the church.
Yes, of course.
100%. I mean, when you look at it, it's pretty bizarre when you think about it. Like, here's what we're saying when we're preaching that stuff, is that Jesus was persecuted and murdered by the Romans because of what he was preaching. And then later on, Constantine turns around and takes that exact system of religion and realizes this is a great way to control people, turns it into politics.
Yeah.
And that's the Christianity that we get.
Yes.
So it's very root, like you say, is the fear mechanism around politics. Now you go turn on the news. What is the fear mechanism around politics? Fear. Fear. DEFCON 5, people. It's fear. So that has filtered into the church. Now, I think something that we always bring up is just that we don't believe the church is necessarily wrong, but it is very narrow. However, I see more and more as we go along how much incorrect stuff there is in the church.
Yes.
The scary thing about this particular thing is, I've mentioned in previous episodes, a lot of pastors and preachers in churches have never studied church history,
Yeah.
have never, studied formal theology or how to exegete scriptures or such. And so they themselves are subject to a system and perpetrating a system that they don't even understand where it came from. But fear is truly baked into Christianity from the get-go. Well, not from the get-go, from Constantine's get-go.
Yes.
Yeah.
From the Bible as we know it now. And that's without the understanding of the translations and how things have been passed down and translated in certain ways. And I have, you know me, I'm reading books. I read so many books, and I've read so many books of where like certain words were added or removed in certain ways. It completely changes like the essence of what you're reading. And so, I mean, I believe so much that Jesus was so pure in everything he does. And I'm so close to Jesus now and believe so much in what he taught when he walked this earth from like a very pure divine being perspective. And so the nice thing is, even stepping away from this and even questioning the things in the Bible has brought me closer, not only to God, but to Jesus too. And so it's not like a full stop in the story when you understand this. It's just a comma, and now you're like adding to the story and changing a few of those perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. Correcting them, remembering what they should have been.
True.
Really. So let's get into some of the actual things, like some of the actual fear control mechanisms in church. And let's start with this one, the fear of hell. This is probably the biggest one. And when you leave church as well, there is this space where you're like, oh shit, am I like completely out of my mind? Am I going to go to hell now?
Yeah.
Am I like those fears? But the fear of hell is like this eternal torment that's been weaponized against us.
True.
You know, it's like, it's not only attacking your spiritual standing and your forever state, but it actually attacks your nervous system because it attacks your sense of safety. So that means that just through this very indoctrination, it is actually causing you to live physically and mentally in a constant fear of hell that keeps the body in a sympathetic nervous system mode, which is a fight or flight or freeze mode. Now just think about that. You're going and you're refilling this sympathetic nervous system mode every time you are in that environment, every time you listen to a sermon, often every time when you listen to a worship song, because it's baked into it.
Yeah.
When it's mentioning the opposite of heaven, you're automatically, subconsciously considering the opposite of hell. Yeah. And so you're actually never allowing full rest, digestion, or peace around any of this. It all is affected by your nervous system. It's a chronic activation that really feels like this background panic in yourself that becomes a normal state.
Yeah. And even if you do believe that you're not going to hell because you have been saved by Jesus, you live in that state for other people, which I was more tormented by than anything else. I hoped to God that I was not going to hell and that I'd done everything right. But as we know from like past discussions, I never actually got saved in my whole Christian life.
You were definitely going to hell.
I mean, it played a part, right, of like keeping me in a place of fear. But I feared for my friends. I really had love for people, and I lived in my state of fear for my friends because I also didn't have enough security in who I was to actually share with them like, hey, buddy, you're going to go to hell if you don't believe what I believe. I couldn't do that. There was nothing. there's nothing in me. Well, there's nothing in me that could say to someone I loved, I believe you're going to hell because you don't believe what I believe. And so that kept me in a place of torment too, because then, okay, am I then responsible if they do go to hell because I didn't share Jesus with them? Like, it's such a tough place to constantly be in. And when I speak about it and I remember being there, man, it was really hard. It really didn't feel good. And it's because we come from even the evangelical church where the whole emphasis is to evangelize and to get people saved, right? Not every church is like this. And so, it was just part of the movement we were
Some churches are heavier on it, actually.
Oh, yeah?
A lot heavier on it.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of this is preached from the pulpit in very strict religious churches.
Even to their own people,
Oh, totally.
to keep them in line.
The idea of eternal fiery torment.
Just
If we
so
go back
harsh.
historically, like we have with Constantine, and you look at how it's influenced, I mean, you can go through the words. We probably don't have time to get as deep as that, but the reality is that it's all heavily influenced by the Romans and the Greeks, the mythological side of it that was reinforced by
Yes, exactly.
artworks and such.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So if we actually look at the origins of hell, where it comes from, because it's actually not biblical. The origins of hell, like if you look at the word, I'll give you like 3 different things. If you look at the word Sheol, which the Hebrew word simply means the grave or the place of the dead. It's not a fiery place of torment, right? When it speaks of Sheol. In Greek texts, when it speaks about Hades carrying a similar meaning, that's the underworld, the unseen realm. It's not necessarily punishment either. There's no punishment related to Hades. And then the idea of like eternal fiery torment was heavily influenced by Roman and Greek mythology. That's what you just said. And later reinforced by medieval art and literature. Like it came from Dante's Inferno. That is where our picture of hell came from, and the pictures that was translated through the belief system. And even like when Jesus references Gehenna, speaking...
Gehenna.
Oh, sorry.
Gehenna sounds like a nice little girl's name. Getting ice cream on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh,
Come,
that is-
Gehenna. What did you like? Strawberry? Chocolate?
I always thought it was Gehenna.
Gehenna. I'm probably saying it wrong too. It's probably like Gehenna.
Oh, you're probably right. Yes, it would have been that. Gehenna,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Okay, that, when he
That's so culturally
references...
inappropriate what we just did. But anyway.
We're very English. We're trying, yeah. We're trying to like just get a point across. So when Jesus references that, he's actually talking about a trash dump that is just outside Jerusalem, where fire burned continually because it was a trash dump. It became metaphorical, but then later was literally taken to mean hell.
Yeah. I think Jesus there is literally speaking about living your life in an unconscious state where it is a mess, where it is trash, where it stinks, where it burns with fire. If you're living an unconscious life, your life burns with fire. That is hell on earth. That is where we start talking about heaven and hell on earth. You can literally live in heaven on earth or in hell on earth.
On earth.
It doesn't have to be a place to go to. And if Jesus is seen as this conscious teacher, that's what he's teaching. He's saying, don't live there. Don't be there. Wake up.
It's crazy. That is so true. That's exactly what it is, because I firmly believe heaven and hell is a state of mind. That's where my belief sits in it now. But
I've been to both.
yeah, I mean, do you remember our church used to...
No. I never ever wanted to speak about this again, ever.
I'm sure we've already mentioned it though, but it was really awful. Like our church putting on a play that was called, what was it?
It was a touring play.
Heaven's
that came
Gates,
around.
Hell's Fury.
Heaven's Gates, Hell's Flames
Oof.
was the name of the production.
Yeah, it was
And
rough.
they pushed us to sell tickets. I think we sold tickets or give tickets or whatever.
And bring people.
We brought friends that never spoke to us again.
Yeah.
Some people had friends that walked out halfway.
Yeah.
And even sitting there watching it, it was embarrassing. It was in your face, you're going to hell if you don't join us. It may as well be a Nazi rally.
Literally. It was really, it was so cringy. As an entertainer, it was also bad on the entertainment level, and the acting skill-wise and the production value sucked too. But I can't believe we did that to people.
I know.
Anyway, on that note, like what's another thing that I was really fearful of in church was the devil and demons, and this played a big role in like what we believed.
I was never afraid of that in church, funnily enough, because I don't know what it is now, but I was involved in those instances a lot with the demonic and praying for people and such. And I think I've spoken in previous episodes about what I think that is now. And I think it is what actually Jesus and his disciples went around with. The original word, I've spoken about this before, for demon is daemon, which is actually out of your right mind. And I think even when I was praying for those people, there was something about out of their right mind. And look, there's a lot that we don't know. We never claim to be experts on this. We don't know exactly where the parameters are for dark forces or evil or things like that. I mean, if you listen to the podcast last week when I spoke to David Trotter, I mean, he's been involved in this in 12 years, for 12 years now. He's spoken to people from all kinds of different activations, like channeling and mediums and such, and he still doesn't know where the boundary is for the darkness. The reality is that we have been told that boundary for darkness is so close that we better be careful, better not step out, better not leave church, better not leave the fold, little sheep. So it's just like, it's our alarm bells go off way too easily when God is actually good. And so when it comes to the devil and demons, the devil, seriously, so out of context.
I know when you speak about out of right mind, like if you understand through awakening, you'll start to see that the creator is the mind of God. Everything is within the mind of God, right? And so to be out of your mind is to not be aligned with your place in that role. If you believe you are separate from God, you are not in right mind. You're not right with God, not because you were made to be separate. It's just because you haven't recognized who you are yet. And so it's tormenting to feel separate from God. It can feel like demons. It can feel that way, but it's not a physical entity necessarily, because a lot of times demons were actually cultural explanations for disease or mental illness or unexplained suffering. They would call that demons. And so as the church then grew, these figures became fear symbols, external entities that only the church could protect you from, which is very, that's pretty helpful. That's, if you have a disease, mental illness, or it must be a demon, so you need to come to the church because we can take care of that. But it basically centralized power. If demons are real and everywhere, then you need the church. Right. You need the prayers. You need the authority of the church to stay safe, because otherwise you are unsafe.
It's the fear of spiritual attack or possession it's reinforcing that idea that you, like you say, are not safe without church covering. And this is something that plays into you as you awaken, as you leave church. It's like, am I still safe? Am I safe from these things? Like, it's these little thoughts. Now, what you got to always think about is, where did that thought come from? Who gave you that thought? Do you have anything to base that on outside of what you were told in church, that you have to be there? You see, in church, why it's a control mechanism is because it makes you hyper vigilant. Like, it makes you scan every thought and every dream that you have and every desire, for signs of the enemy, the devil behind every bush. Spirituality is reduced, to trusting in your own tuition. Like, am I safe? Am I not? Am I doing the right thing or not? Physically, it wires the brain for this constant danger, this leading to adrenal fatigue and anxiety. There's a lot of physical aspects at play here. That's why it's not just a conversation about, fear kept me in the church. No, fear is radically affecting people's lives. On the physical and emotional level, you literally cannot fully function under that environment. And that's why we're speaking about these things, because we want you to be free of them and not carry them through your awakening.
Yeah, and that is the point, is like, so there's so much in the church that we can speak of, and we've spoken about those things and outlined some of the stuff for us that really we found. But it's when you step outside, and that's really the place where we want to pick up people's journey alongside us, is because where we're on now is this awakening journey. And it's not the purpose of this is not to point out the fear. The purpose of this is to show that there is a way in which you can live 100% completely free of fear. And that is a beautiful thing. And for me has been one of the most substantial eye-opening parts of this awakening journey, is going like, oh my gosh, I don't feel fear anymore. And why is it like this, and how do I get there? And this is where we really want to help people get to.
Yeah, what's really crazy is since leaving church, I have been involved in so many things that I was fearful of before
That's true.
based on these paradigms,
Yeah.
like so many things. And to be absolutely honest, it's not necessarily because I went seeking for more. There was a lot that I decided I just really needed to be open to, but it was based on my awakening journey being a physical awakening. There
True.
are
Yeah.
mental awakenings, there are physical awakenings, and we'll get into this at some point. But mine was very physical. 8 months of true physical suffering. And what happens in that state is when you just want to be healthy, when you just want to be whole, you are open to anything that will work.
It's true.
And that excluded opioids and
Yes.
pharmaceuticals and things like that. I didn't want to go down that road at all. But I can fully understand why people do, because the
100%.
pain was intense, the insomnia was intense, all of that. And honestly, when I think about meeting with a shaman who channels entities to work on me for healing, if I thought that in church, I would have been, that's the devil. But in that experience, all I felt was pure love and this ancient power that wanted to, in absolute purity, help me and
And
restore me
did.
with no strings attached.
Yes. And did
No
help
strings
you.
attached.
Yes. It's
So,
insane.
it's amazing. That's one of the things. And there's other things that I've done as well. But I think the key to breaking the fear that I had from the rhetorics was actually, it's so like counterintuitive, was to be open to everything,
It's so
to
good.
actually ask questions about everything.
Yeah.
You see, it brings me to the next point, which is the fear of questioning. That's a control mechanism in church, that there's this massive fear around questioning things. It's like you can't be labeled rebellious or that you've been deceived simply because you're asking questions. And it clamps down your curiosity. And spiritual discovery is based on curiosity. You were designed to be curious, to remember your relationship with Source, to rediscover where you've already come from, the connection with the Creator. And so the very thing that you need for growth, the curiosity, is shut off. And what's shut off with it is the creativity and the authentic identity that you are actually seeking. And it's
Yes.
all shrouded in, oh, you're just here to sing songs and serve others, but you never discover yourself, or you never discover your actual own remembered connection to the divine, because you're not allowed to question.
Yeah. Yeah. Our whole purpose here is to like be of one mind with God, and from that place create, not only for yourself, but create ways in which you can better others and better humanity and be an asset to this world. And so if you are under fear and if you are under like lack and scarcity, which fear brings you into, your creative is shut off. You don't have access to your creative powers when you are consumed by fear. And that's one of the most dangerous things because it keeps a world in a non-creative state. And when
Right.
people aren't creating, people are consuming. And when people are consuming, people are diving deeper into fear and into need and into scarcity and want. It's this crazy circle that keeps going on. And when you can get out of that circle and you can become a creator, a co-creator alongside the source of everything, humanity becomes better because you are sharing your gifts with the world in a very beautiful, creative way. And that's where I find myself now. It's where you find yourself too. And I would never have been able to be here had I not stepped out of that cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think for you leaving church as we cross into sort of the awakening side of it? What do you think is one of your biggest fears leaving church?
I think I feared the judgment that came with it because I know a lot of people liked me or thought I was a good person because I was Christian and this woman of God and serving in the church and doing all that stuff. So I felt like a lot of people would no longer want to know me because I didn't hold that identity. And so I feared a lot of isolation or shame
Yeah.
or loneliness, like coming into that. Other
Well, I
than
mean,
that,
of course. I mean, you're spending like how many hours,
yeah,
with people that you're seeing every week that is giving you the impression of community and breaking that loneliness, only to come to a place where when you walk away, you never hear from them at all.
I know.
It's like you're dead to
It's
them,
just really hard. Yeah, it was really hard. I feared that, and then it happened. But I don't think the two things can go together. I don't think you can be on this awakening journey and also remain in close friendship with people who aren't open to the things you're curious about, because there's no ways. What do I
you
go?
become a different person. You
Yes.
discover your being because you're not
Yeah.
acting anymore. You're not trying to pretend to be something in order to curb all of these fears. So you're being free, and people who are not free can't handle that, really.
Yeah. And it's not a fault of their own. It's just because it's so confronting. I read something the other day that like every person you meet is just another version of you that you're confronted with to learn from and to grow from.
True.
Isn't that so cool? And it's like, so instead of looking at people as like these whatever challenges in our life, it's just like, wait, what is this person showing me about me that I need to like see or be confronted with or overcome or grow in? And it's such a beautiful thing because in essence, if you believe that we are all one and the oneness of God that is awakening and is enlightenment in this path, you are all connected. And then people being themselves or even having traits of themselves that aren't 100% like healed yet, there's so much that can work together in goodness when you view people in that way and see them as a source of their creator as well and a part of this oneness, the sonship of God, basically, that we are all sons of God under the sonship of God. And then things become really cool. But when there are people outside of that understanding, obviously what you're confronted with is their lack of understanding of what you're trying to embody in being around
Totally.
other people.
Simunia, for a good African word. We are one.
We are one.
But you're exactly right. You see, because it's completely contrasting. Believing that there is a piece of source, a piece of God in all of us, and that is the main part of us, other than this human vessel that we're using for this lifetime, versus in church where the exclusivity is you're either in or you're out. Those are very contrasting beliefs. And so to stand together
Yes.
in that relationship becomes the pillar of your life is completely different. And
Yes,
so,
and
yeah.
my understanding has actually switched over the last couple of weeks about that. So in the beginning, when I started on this journey, my big revelation was like the Christ consciousness is in everyone and everything, right? But what I actually have grown to believe in the more expansive view now is that we are actually all within the Creator,
Ooh.
not the Creator's within us. We are within the Creator. We are part of Him, inside of Him. And so it's not even this little part that we have to find in someone else that is a little part of God within them. It's actually, oh no, we are all so interconnected that we are part of the same thing, that's even closer.
No, that's absolutely right, because that is what the Kabbalion teaches as well, which is
The
we're
mind
in the
of God.
mind of God, we're in the
Yeah.
mind of Source, and we're
Yeah.
within that. I mean, that's, Christianity actually uses some of that language. They're
Yes.
like, oh yeah, the world is not, God is not in the world is in God, because God is
Yes.
everywhere. But they don't
Yes.
break it down to the individual level in
Yes.
terms of how that affects my identity. And so, yeah, I agree with you. Losing community was a big one. Losing friends and just losing that sort of repetition every week. Like we'd wake up on Sundays and be like, what do we do on Sunday now? It's like,
Yeah.
and so there is that loss of that sort of communal feeling. I really came quickly to realize that word community was not real community.
No.
And I think it's impossible to be real community when everybody is pretending to be something, because one of the other fears is rejection. But rejection comes before leaving, because if you have sin, there's a certain level of disdain or rejection if you are public about that sin in church. So what you become in church is very good at hiding your flaws, very good at hiding your sin. And what you're actually doing is hiding your authenticity. You're hiding yourself. And so then let's break that down and see what that means for a community. If it's not authentic, is it true community? No, it's not. It's a sense of community. And the amount of people that I've met that go, I'm not going to leave church because, well, I'll miss the community. Yeah, but if you leave church, you'll realize that it's not a true community. And there's other things too. I mean, people face family rejection when they leave church. You know, that can be a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
It is a big thing. Or being out of the fold. And again, I want to bring it back to going like, this is not just, we're not playing games. This triggers deep evolutionary wiring that is in your nervous system. It's a rejection that feels like a death. It's really that dramatic. And the body experiences it as grief, as panic, and as you said earlier, as depression. And it's something that you need to work through. I know I say this every episode, and it's amazing how few people think they need it. But that's why I coach people through awakening. That's why I specifically coach and mentor people through religion over the bridge to awakening, because these are the deep, terrible impacts that it has on you, and you need to unwire all that because it's devastating.
Yeah, it definitely causes trauma. There is trauma from this. And I don't think you recognize it when you're in it. I recognized the trauma, the religious trauma I had once I stepped outside of it. And I was like, what the actual F was going on in my life? Because that is a traumatic situation that I now have to overcome and heal from. And I didn't recognize it until I did. I mean, we had guys even in, it's not just subject to Christianity. We had guys that would come to our life group in Dubai who were Muslim, who studied Islam. I mean, who were brought up Islam, and they, if their families knew that they were visiting with us at our Christian life groups, their families would have had them killed.
Yes.
This was a very, very strong fact in that world. And we had people live under this fear of being hunted down by their own families because they were coming together with Christians on a Wednesday night. And so it's not even just Christianity, it's the trauma that is in the world because of what religion has created.
In religion,
is really detrimental. And I feel like the essence of the messengers that have carried the messages through each of these religious that have now become religions, Muhammad, Jesus, Buddha, all of them, I believe humans have taken the message and discarded it and taken the messenger and put them on a pedestal to worship. And so this is the problem, and this is where the trauma comes in. This is where religion comes in. But anyway, that's a whole different
it's true. It's a massive topic, but that is a very pertinent point. It's absolutely true. And the last thing that I would say is just that fear of falling out of the will of God. Fear of falling outside of God's will. This thing of being in a context where you're not discovering yourself, you're hiding your flaws, you're not in authentic community, and you get bombarded with this fear-driven rhetoric, and yet you're supposed to discover your purpose. How are you going to ever discover your purpose if you can't discover yourself? And so for me, that's been one of the things that for me became a nugget now as I've discovered my purpose, which is to remember. My purpose is to remember who I truly am before all of this earthly brainwashing happened, and to actually discover that identity and to operate in those passions and to extend that, as you said earlier, to others versus just how I fit in the church model. Is that really my purpose, just to fit in the church model, or is my purpose bigger than that? And so discovering my purpose outside of church has led me way closer to actually walking in that than 40 years of church with that pressure of purpose ever did.
It's crazy.
I spent money on that, y'all. I bought books. I bought cassette tapes and CDs. I mean, I listened to it all. I went to Bible school. I mean, I was there, dog.
Where are you from right now?
I'm from all over. I'm an
All
international
over the
flavor.
South. I don't even know where that is from. That is not even an accent, but it was very good, whatever it was. What I'd love to
Nowadays,
do.
you can mix everything up. It's all good.
It's true, especially us. But what I'd love to do is like, let's talk. Can we talk about like the awakening side of some of these fears? Like, give people some hope
Yes,
and
I
give
think that'd
people
be.
some
Oh,
like
yeah.
light.
Because now they're probably feeling like very beaten up. So
Yes.
let's give you something. I'll just say, like, these are constructed fears you've spoken about. These are not real. They're constructed. They're artificial fences. Think about it. It's a cool term.
Ooh,
Artificial
artificial
fences.
fences. That's very cool.
Ooh. But awakening that we're about to speak about reveals that love, freedom, the truth, they don't need fences. That's what we speak about in terms of being open.
Yeah, there are no fences here. And so I want to go through like a few of the things we've mentioned and just speak about them from the side of awakening as like a new perspective and like a aha breath of fresh air that might really help people who are where we were in the beginning of this process. So the wrath of God, we've spoken about that, right? If we put an awakening lens on that, what if wrath is simply the natural consequence of being out of alignment with love? Not divine rage, but disconnection from source. What if that is what it is?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Do you want me to keep going or are you going to
Yeah.
bring some up? Okay.
Keep going.
So we spoke about this destructive God, right? And so also from an awakening lens, nature cycles and change can feel destructive. Like it might not be caused, but it is just destructive, but they are part of renewal. Destruction often clears space for rebirth. And this is a very big process that you've actually gone through. What looks like destructiveness in your body could have been like punishment from God. You could have seen this as punishment from
Yeah, I
God.
would have seen it through that lens. Yeah.
But now in the awakening journey, what your body has been going through is death and renewal of old traumas, old curses, old thought forms that were hardwired into your fascia and your body.
And into my nervous system, which is being continually reinforced by the paradigms that I believed in church.
Yes, so is that God? No, it's part of this awakening journey, but the beautiful thing that comes to be is rebirth, right? What about the fear of judgment after leaving church, right? And so we fear that we might be punished, condemned, or shunned once we leave church, but stepping away is actually stepping towards authenticity. So those who leave fear behind often find freedom and deeper connection with the divine, which is exactly what we've spoken about.
Absolutely.
And exactly what we've experienced.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I know you said this is harsh for me to compare this to church, but I did write a quote today. And I mean, it's hard to not see it this way, but when you speak about things like that, like if church, this is my quote, by the way, people, okay, this is quote Clint Davis. If church has become your comfort zone, then it's not your safe place, it's your prison. Because uncertainty drives discovery, even when discovering God.
Oh, it's so true.
And so, absolutely. I mean, for me, fear, when I look at it now in church, it was a signpost. It was a signpost saying, hey, actually, this isn't an emotion. This isn't a feeling that should be in a place like this. So why is it here? Isn't it like pointing you to move to something else?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. And so what about sin? Because like sin, the fear lens is always like you're inherently broken or condemned or, condemned unless saved. But what if through like the awakening lens, sin can actually just be seen as separation from your truest self. Awakening reframes it not as guilt, but as forgetfulness. And we've all forgotten. So it's not like just on one person. Everyone has forgotten by coming here. But it's an invitation that there's always to remember, and that's always in love. And so now sin is not so fearful anymore. It's just like when you do something that's not your highest version or not your true self, you're not sinning. You just forgot in that moment who you truly are.
Yeah, well, it's amazing, isn't it? Because sin is preached as missing the mark. And that's what the word means. And that's what Jesus taught, missing the mark. And then we're like, well, what is the mark? Is the mark saying a prayer in the front of church? Is the mark fulfilling the law? No, because Jesus said he did that, right? So what is the mark? And the mark, yes, is remembering, but what are you remembering? The mark that Jesus set out as a conscious teacher is love. The mark is love. When you're missing the mark, it's missing love. When you sin against someone, you're missing love. You're not loving that person. When you sin against yourself, you're missing love. You're not loving yourself. You're not loving who you are. The
Yes.
mark is love.
Yes, or not recognizing the divine in someone else, or not recognizing the divinity within yourself.
All part of love.
It's amazing. It's so good. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when we spoke about the devil and demons as well, like the fear is the external forces, but what if the awakening lens is like that? Then this is so cool because there's so much in this in the awakening journey is these can actually be seen as metaphors for our shadow, our ego. You spoke about the unconscious fears or being unconscious in your state of mind. The enemy isn't outside of us. It's the illusions that we believe.
Yeah.
How cool is that reframe? I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're reading a book at the moment that actually, or we're both reading it, but you're ahead of me. I mean, it's a pretty heavy read. It's also a heavy book. It could be a good doorstop if
It's
you
a great book.
Need some time before you read it. But there's a section in there that was really good about how we construct fear and how we build it.
This is so good. So the book is called A Course in Miracles. It is about the thickness of a Bible, and the pages are about as thin as a Bible's page too. So when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to read this. But I'm obsessed.
But most of us might actually read this, where most of us did not read our Bibles, if we're honest.
I honestly can't put this book down. Like, it is bringing so much truth to the understanding, and the things that never made sense to me before is now making sense. So when it comes to fear, what it says here is that all aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level and therefore do not exist at all. Okay? So we say perfect love casts out fear, right? So if fear exists, then that means there is no perfect love. But we know only perfect love exists. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist. So in essence, if you believe this, you will be free because only God can establish this solution, and this faith is his gift. And so when you awaken, and this is what I found, you believe like that perfect love is the only thing that exists. I don't believe that source God created or there's anything created outside of perfect love, which means if there is fear that comes into me or into my mind or into a situation, it is self-created. It is self-inflicted.
You constructed it.
I have constructed it. It's made up. It's constructed. And that puts everything we've spoken about, including what they're teaching in churches, including what is in the Bible written as fear, as constructed knowledge or constructed imagery or whatever.
It's a deep book, but it's really good stuff. And when you do break it down, it's epic. It's really epic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, awakening just reframes it all, doesn't it?
It really does.
It really does. Provision is often a fear, but the flow of awakening is that you get to trust your ability and connection, your direct connection to source for provision. When you think about finding meaning, you think about finding your purpose, that's actually found within. It's within you. You have this purpose to remember. You have this purpose that's connected to source that is in you, fundamentally in you, not assigned externally.
Yeah.
You're not waiting for God to reveal your purpose. God's waiting for you to discover and remember
Your
your
divinity.
purpose and your divinity. Yeah. You're not waiting for your pastor to tell you your purpose. Belonging, when we talk about community, it's rooted in authenticity,
Phew,
not in conformity. Think about that one.
I know.
Not in conformity. Think about how much you have to conform to fit into a church community. That's not authentic, and it should be rooted in authenticity. And so, yeah, creativity and identity, they flourish when fear loosens.
Yeah.
That's part of the awakening process.
Yeah.
Is fear loosens from you. And the more that you release that fear, the more your true self has room to step forward. And to that quote's point, your true self is going to discover more and more and more love for yourself, more love for those around you, more love for source, more love in your belonging in this great saga.
You're gonna explode from love. It's so much. There's so much love
everything.
in it.
That's what Jesus said.
I know.
You know?
I get it now. I get it. Yeah, it's
That's what Jesus
amazing.
said. So
Yeah.
it's mega. It's a mega topic, and I mean, there's so much more that we could have got into as well. I'd love to give some practical tools for just dismantling fear.
That's cool. Yeah.
And I also think that from all the work you do in mental performance and embodiment, that you'll be able to add some of these. But I think these are really helpful things. They are things that I work through in some of the mentorship that I do, depending on what people need at the time. But one of the things that's really helpful, let's just give you a few things here that'll help you. Name it, frame it. So instead of name it and claim it, brother, name it and frame it. Speak your fear out loud. I am afraid of losing community.
Yeah.
Naming it breaks the invisible power of it. And it also lets you figure out where that actually came from. You know how sometimes you say things and then you're like, oh, wait a minute. Hearing that out loud, that's not right. That's what it is. Name it, frame it, see where it fitted in or who gave that to you.
Yeah. I mean, I normally do one with my athletes that's like reframe the fear. Like, so I'm fearful of stepping out of community because I'll be isolated. Like, picture and embody what that would truly feel like and look like to you. And then you got to reframe it and say, well, if I do step out of community, like what does the best case scenario look like? Like I'll find community that's more authentic to me. I'll find my true self. I'll have space to discover who I am. So you take the fear and you flip it and you go, okay, I understand worst case scenario, but what is best case scenario if I face this fear?
We never do that. We always focus on the negative. We always focus on because we are programmed like that from day one.
Yeah. So you have, okay, what is best case scenario if I face this fear? And then when you see that best case scenario actually outweighs the fear, you go, okay, now I actually have the, I was going to say balls to do it, but you actually have like the motivation to go like, oh, I'm not so scared of this anymore because there's very positive things that can come out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Being on the positive side it's hard in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to be positive about in the beginning because all these emotions are getting to you. And I want to just give you some grace in that as well. Like just realize that there's a whole body awareness that happens in awakening. You need to realize the things that we've shared with you today about your nervous system being governed and being in the sympathetic state and everything being under. When you go through awakening, all of this has to unravel.
Yeah.
It all has to come back to baseline. Mm-hmm. And so it can be difficult to stay positive. Give yourself grace.
True.
Like it's not a line on a graph that goes straight from the bottom all the way to the top on this beautiful 45-degree axis. It's more like a squiggly worm with some good days, some bad days.
Yeah.
And just keep going. That's what a journey is. But find the beauty of humanity in it. Mm-hmm. Enjoy the journey for betters and for worses days and just enjoy going along it. But that body awareness, it's so important. Like notice how fear shows up physically is the next point I want to give you. Like in that tight chest, in those stomach knots, in that discomfort. And there are tools, breath work, grounding practices. You know, they just help you loosen your your grip and help shift from that sympathetic back into that parasympathetic safety.
Yes, and on that, like, I know I'm saying this ahead of time as well, but we're going to be speaking to someone really soon that's really going to give the nitty-gritty of the tools to help the body connection, as well as like the remembrance and remembering who you are. And I'm very excited. Like soon, like hopefully after this podcast, we'll have it up for you guys. But yeah.
Absolutely. It's so cool. Number 3, I want to give you is question the fear. Like, is the fear yours?
Ooh,
Like, where did you get this fear from? Like,
very
was
good.
it planted in you? Where did it come from? Now, the reality is most fears are planted in you, even from school and from, even from childhood.
What's the story you told me today? Just tell that story of like the fear.
It's amazing. I was watching this documentary on Gaia. If you haven't got the Gaia channel, go and get it, especially if you're going through awakening.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal and very helpful. But they were just speaking about how it was about abundance, and they were speaking about the fear of lack. But they were speaking about how we're all trained into this fear of lack, and they used a school game setting. And we probably have all played this game, but the game is musical chairs.
Crazy.
Where you all dance around these chairs that are laid out, and when the music stops, you have to grab a chair. And whoever doesn't get a chair is out of the game. You loser, dance, go sit in the corner. And so what they found is that the kids were dancing around in the beginning and having fun. But as soon as they realized, oh crap, if I don't get a chair, I'm out, they stopped dancing and they started walking around, and the focus became intently focused on the chairs and getting that chair. What they're instilling is a fear of lack, a fear of loss. And so every round, a chair disappears, and even friends start pushing friends out of the way to grab that chair until there's one chair left and only one winner and everybody else is a loser. And that fear of lack is instilled in such simple ways in us from the very get-go that we have to be aware of them. Why the hell would we want to go and be part of an institution that continues to reinforce those fears in us is now, in hindsight, beyond me. Keeping in mind that I was in church for 40 years. I was there. I know. In hindsight, it's so much easier to see. But yeah, just give yourself the grace around it. But understand you've been conditioned. And so who actually benefits? Question this. Who actually benefits from believing that fear? Do you benefit from believing that fear?
No.
Who's benefiting from it?
Never. When do you ever benefit from believing in fear?
Well, if you keep paying your tithes, somebody's benefiting from it.
Wow.
Oh, snap. Go ahead and reframe the truth. Like, replace those expansive truths. Hell isn't real. Love is eternal.
Wow.
It's a great one to think of. Hell isn't real. Love is eternal. You're just reframing it.
Write them out for yourself. Put them on sticky notes and stick them on your freaking mirror every time you wake up, and then go like, whatever the affirmation is like, God is pure love. Like, fear doesn't exist in my life. I am capable of overcoming all my fears. Like, affirm it every single day. It was part of my awakening journey. I used to journal affirmations every single day, along with gratitude. And that is the thing that broke the fear off of me, is because if it's something I fear, I'm going to turn it into an affirmation of like light and positivity, and I'm going to speak that into my life until I freaking believe it. It works. It works so much.
I love you so much. The next one is building new safety, and journaling is one of those things.
Okay, cool.
That is what you're doing. You're building new safety. Don't be afraid of those practices like meditation. Don't be afraid of that. It's in the Bible. It's just misquoted. It's not used. Don't be afraid of non-Christian authors. Don't be afraid of plant medicine. Don't be afraid of these things. I mean, I want to go down the plant medicine thing, but I think we should do that another time, considering most of the stained glass windows in churches have magic mushrooms in them. But anyway, if you get Gaia, you'll see that. Don't be afraid of not finding community outside of church. This is a big one.
Oh my gosh, please don't, because it's the best thing that can happen to you. It's the best thing that's happened to me in 2025.
Absolutely.
Is my community that I now have.
Absolutely. And honestly, when you start stepping into the authenticity and the trust and the belief that you are remembering that you are connected to the divine and that the universe or source or God or whatever you come to find as a non-triggering word for you, for that creator, when you start understanding that that source has everything good for you, when you start aligning with that authenticity, the community and the friends that line up with that authenticity will find you, and you
100%.
will find them. You will not be alone just because you're leaving a church community. Don't worry so much. All of these practices are there to root you in self-trust,
Amazing.
meditation, journaling, community. They all help you find that self-trust again and rediscover who you are, remember who you are. The last one I have is micro experiments. Take small steps, where fear has no power. Ask the questions. Tell your story. Practice provision through conscious trust. Just take small steps every day. And I think probably just to double back, the best small step you can take if you need the smallest of steps is sticky notes on your mirror, like Rachelle said. Just affirmations. You're free to question. I'm free to question.
Yeah.
God is big enough to handle my doubt.
Oh, so good.
I'm remembering who I really am. Just,
Beautiful.
you don't need a mirror, guys. Stick that thing full of sticky notes. You're good. You're good. So, yeah, those are just a few things. And
Yeah.
we just want you to be free, and we just know that it can be a tough journey sometimes, and you will get there. Don't lose heart, don't lose courage, don't give in to fear.
Yeah. Not only will you get there, but you're going to be so better for it. I promise you this. It's definitely going to be one of the craziest, funnest, most fulfilling, joyous journeys of your life. And I can't wait to start meeting people who are on this and who are listening to this podcast, because we truly love everything about having you here and getting to share some of our journey with you.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
If you found it valuable, please share it with someone who might need it too.
Remember, if you have left church or feeling you need someone to process some of these thoughts with, you can book a 15-minute discovery call on our website. You can also discover more of our mentorship programs and how I can help you through the void, bridging from what was to what is.
Visit unchurchingpodcast.com and follow us on Instagram at unchurchingpodcast. Till next time.
Cheers. Ciao. Goodbye.